How about now? Let's try this again. Can you hear me now? Um, in case you didn't hear all that, I'll try this again a little bit. Welcome to my stream. I'm Trey Gallaher, and I'm out here usually Saturday nights. Um, so Saturday nights, Sunday nights, and tonight we're going to do a little bit more exploration on this design, which we had been doing the last couple of weeks. And just here in the stream, this is one I'm doing um, just here in stream. I'm not doing any other work outside of this for this. Just kind of letting this one evolve here. Um, so if you're new to the channel, welcome. I don't usually do music, but I encourage you to put some stuff on in the background, if you will, and draw along with me, and let's spend some time together. Um, have a nice beverage with you. I have tea with me tonight, and had a nice day today. Had a good week. Actually had a chance to get my shot, vaccination shot. So I was kind of one of the earlier ones, I guess you could say. I I am an educator, so I technically was able to get in under the tier 1, but was very fortunate and had a nice day today out with my son. We played some soccer. Had a great time. The weather was a bit chilly, but it was a good day to get out. And my son's been doing a soccer camp, which is going to go a couple of weekends, just on the weekend. But he had a chance to get out and run. And let me tell you, this whole last year, it was really nice to see him out there uh, on the field again after being at home for a year or so. There's signs that our lives might be getting back somewhat to normal, but we all still have to be careful, of course. Everybody was masked and outside and social distance, but it was definitely a great day. So, anyway, let's get rolling. Sorry if you couldn't hear me a little bit earlier, so I'll just proceed forward. So, yeah, we're going to do a little bit of value on this character and make this design of the body kind of have more dimension to it with some lights and shadows. And then if we get time, maybe a little bit of color play, and then we'll bring it back into this so where you can see the whole design with those values and color. So I'm going to proceed. So I think for now, I am going to turn off um, some parts of what I have going here already. There we go. And then I'm just going to work with what I have. Just kind of looking at my layer organization here. Not sure there's much in there. Oh, that was my key, that's right. Okay. There we go. All right. Okay. So let's dive in. Come in a little bit closer. Now, for reference, I'm going to be looking at probably a light source that would have some sort of reflection kind of similar to this. I'm not sure that the body armor would have quite the same reflection. Maybe somewhat more scathed, a little bit beat up. Maybe not as shiny. I'm not even sure that the helmet would be super shiny like this necessarily in the end. Um, but throw that one in there as well. Okay. So here we go. So I just kind of looking at this as reference. This is the somewhat give me a feeling of the metal feel that I'm after. So I kind of know this. I don't have to necessarily keep this on. So I think for now, I'm just going to turn this off to keep me concentrated on my character for the moment. Okay, here we go. I think for now, I'm just going to kind of come in with some base values over the top. Make a copy of this group, by the way, just so that I still have my original. And I think, kind of looking at my order of my layers here. Okay. So I am going to, there we go. Got to do a quick little cleanup on this layer here. So yeah, had a great afternoon. Spent some time outdoors. You know, this last year has been really strange being indoors so much, and it really makes you appreciate being outside again. I don't know if you guys are out there able to get out and do some of maybe normal routine or normal activities outside, but being lucky enough to be here in California in the Bay Area, there's lots to do outside. So my family and I, we frequently are doing trips to the beach or hikes, or so this last year has been really a different one, and it's been like really strange not feeling like you can cross the bridge, you know, because during the shelter they've not wanted us to really travel much out of our own zip code. So it's been really weird to feel like you can't go very far. And I know it's the same for everybody out there, but um, suddenly now things are lightening up and it feels great to just go 25 miles or 50 miles a little bit out of your area so that you have a chance to see something other than your house and your neighborhood. So I have to say it's pretty great. I've really, really enjoyed that. All right, I'm going to start here with 50%. And I'm going to start working in a little bit of these undervalues. Now, some of these things are going to be locals, and some of these things are going to be maybe actual shadows. But for the beginning, I'm going to work in the locals. So this is just kind of blocking in what value the underpainting will be, regardless of light source. Just what is the value of the things that I'm looking at? What's lighter? What's darker? Etc. And I'll make some decisions along the way. Given that I'm not really doing this for client work, I'm just going to probably go with what feels right. If I were doing this for a client, I'd probably provide multiples and various versions to let them choose. But I'm the art director in this case, so I can go ahead and make some of those choices myself. So I'm picturing something a little bit darker underneath here. I might drop the order of this layer and put it actually underneath. There we go. Little layer organization, always good. So yeah, getting a chance to move around feels awesome. I don't generally want to get in too tight. I'm kind of a let's work loose to tight as we go. The dangers of getting in there too close are just that you end up spending more time noodling something than maybe is necessary. But then there's sort of a dexterity thing too, of being able to get into the nooks and crannies if you can't really see them. Again, just like we were talking about last time, I wouldn't probably consider this to be a full render, but more like a concept render. So it gives a suggestion of what I'm after without necessarily, putting it into something that feels hyper realistic or something of that nature. Also thinking a little bit about this in segments here. So maybe the arms have the same value, maybe they don't. I don't know. So I think for now, I'm working at sort of a 50%. I'm going to just stay with this for a bit. Now, we talked about in earlier designs, and by the way, if you're new to this concept and what we're covering here, it's been in episodes 8, 9, 10, and 11. You can kind of see the evolution of this thing. But you'd have a chance to kind of go back and see a little bit of what we're after. I think I'm going to jump up to my next value. I'm going to go to 80% now, or maybe 70. See how this looks here. The gloves be a little bit darker. Hope you're doing well out there. Hope all your creative projects are going well. You're all staying safe. All right. Last time we talked about there's a hood that is sort of worn underneath some of this armor. So almost like a, I think of like an early ski mask with the sort of eyes, the holes kind of cut out. Which means I'll come back in on that with a little bit of a different pass. I'm only working on local values right now. Okay. See how we're coming along here. So the head, the gloves, maybe a little bit darker. Now the only part I'm wondering here is whether or not I should let there be bare skin sort of under the pads of the arms. It seems like that would be kind of painful to have straps wearing on your skin all the time. So maybe something a little bit lighter. So I'm going to move in now with a new layer. And we're going to go with, move up to something a little bit lighter. Maybe more like a 20%. Just to offset see how that feels. I think the 50% may be necessary here. I think I'm going to go back. Um, let's see. Best way to do this. Darken those up to 50%. I think I like that better. Or maybe even 80%. I think I like that a little bit better. Gives us a little bit of contrast in there. So I was listening to a little early Ice-T on my way into the stream here. The early days. Talking about Reckless. Back in the days of like the early 80s. Really you know, about the time he was just breaking in. I love that early Ice-T stuff. I was sort of a kid who grew up in the late 70s, early 80s. So for me, that takes me back to early hip hop, breakdancing, stuff like that. Which when we were kids was everything. All right. So I kind of like that better. So this is my mask. These are my sleeves. Just doing a little naming convention for my layers just to help me out. A little bit more. All right. Okay, now I kind of have these wraps on the arms here and on the lower portion of the leg. And I think they shouldn't be super light, but I think I'm going to come in with a lighter value on these ones and go maybe something on the higher end. Figure these might be done. We'll probably tape some up for reinforcement. Maybe for warmth. In earlier designs, I was contemplating doing all of the underpiece in this wrap, but that seemed a bit excessive. And I didn't really have a great reason why. It would seem like it would take forever to have to, you know, wrap the entire body every time you put this uniform on. So I kind of figured that these pieces are almost like guards, extra protection, like early shin guards, but without the clunkiness of the armor. So if you look at early forms in like samurai or in early feudal Japan or any culture really before the use of full body armor with metal, it was layers, it was padding, layers of stitched cloth, leathers, hide, any kind of material that was tough but flexible enough to kind of move. So I kind of thought that his arms and legs would need a bit more flexibility to be able to really move around as much as he may need to. Okay. I'm going to go back down to the shoes, the boots, and creating another layer here. And I think that these will be probably a bit on the darker side. We go back to that 50%. See how this looks. let's take a look. Not bad, not bad. Okay. So now, kind of working everything up gradually. That way, if I need to go back and make subtle adjustments, it's in relation to the decisions that I have decided on. So I'm going to start in on my pads now, which I know are going to have somewhat of a metallic feel, but not necessarily super, super reflective. So I think I'm going to do this. Let's excuse me. New layer. Kind of thinking a little bit about a horizon line. But not, you know, these are not going to be super reflective. So I kind of think like a dull, like they've been worn a lot. So perhaps some scuffs. You know, my earlier sketch lines I'm going to leave under there because I think that they will give me a little bit of the wear that I'm thinking about. All right. So we're kind of working on a gradient here, like we're going to bring the gradual transition of sort of light to dark. And I'm not worrying about the actual blend too much yet. Just trying to get sort of the undervalues in place. Then I can work the smoothness over the top. So hope you guys are doing well out there tonight. Getting some work done, or maybe just relaxing. Getting some work done on your passion. Okay, same process here. I'm going to work a little bit with my 3 values. Figuring these pads up here are probably going to be aiming a little more up, so they might not get much ground. They're seeing a lot of the sky. At least the ones on the arm are. Of course, I still have my helmet over here to sort of remind me a little bit of my reflections. I think I may need to perfect this helmet up here a little bit. I don't like the way that head is kind of working there. Coming back in with 20. All right. Back up to my 50s. Just trying to get a little bit of a gradation in them so they show contour and a little suggestion of the surface. And if you saw a little bit of our technique we were using on the helmet over here, you'll see a little bit of how I'm going to try to do the same thing. So kind of do an underpainting here. These are sort of the reflective metallic parts. Oh, have to give a little plug. I was watching this new movie on Hulu, which I thought was really great, was Billie Holiday versus the United States. Was pretty amazing. I love Billie Holiday's voice and have several albums of hers. But I have to be honest and say that I didn't know everything that she was going through in her time. I mean, obviously, some of the addiction stuff was not new, but some of the stuff she was dealing with politics and some of the other issues of her time was pretty amazing. Great, Great movie, though. Get a chance to check it out. All right. This is feeling pretty good. Okay. Now, maybe smoothing them out a little bit. So I think I'm going to drop in with a 20%. I'm going to pick a little bit of a softer brush and see if I can lightly soften some of these edges. I'll take something a little flatter here for a second. So yeah, this kind of thing. Soften it. Just to help me a little bit with those transitions. Again, I don't want to give the impression that these are super slick and super smooth, but I am looking for something metallic. So a certain amount of this has to sort of be there. A little bit softer. You know, one of the nice things about controlling your values in this way is that you can go in and pick it apart. And by things being a little bit separated, you can sort of technically pick the area very specifically that you're after. A little bit of that 20% in there. Okay. It's kind of like airbrushing, I guess, ultimately. I wasn't a huge airbrusher in the day, but I had a little phase there where I was using a little bit of airbrush. Mostly with like acrylics. Okay, I'm realizing there's a little bit more I need to do, which are these sort of rib pads. And I'm not sure I want the rib pads to be necessarily metal. I'm thinking maybe they could be something a little bit different. So I'm going to add another layer and see what these look like here. This is really the fun stuff because it's sort of at this phase that we get to try things, you know, to really stylistically see how this thing is going to feel when it's done. So I think I'm going to switch brushes first of all. And I'm going to come back in on these ab shapes. And I'm going to go with something, maybe my 20%. Now it's going against this darker background, so I want them to pop a little bit. I think I may even need to fix this a little bit. So let me go back to my ink line. And I need to clean this up a little bit. I want them to be a little bit wider. And I guess while I'm here, I'll fix a little bit of this helmet. So I think I was kind of figuring that this helmet would got a little flat on me there. There we go. That's a little more what I was after. Let me come back to my 50. There we go. Little cleanup. And then I guess on my initial sketch too. Yeah, that's a little better. Again, like I said, I'm going to leave some of these dings and marks in here in some places as they kind of give a little bit of, I guess, texture. But if they're distracting, I'm going to take them out. So I got some around the eyes here, which I don't care for. But anywhere else. I don't want to get into too much cleanup yet. I'll take a pass at that later. But if there's anything really bulky, I'm going to take it out now. Anything else major? Not for the moment. All right. Okay. Not bad. All right. Let's see where we go from here. Probably a little more work on those pads, but I think I'm going to work on the sort of abs first. So I believe that's where I was. 20%, meaning I'm picking my 20% value. I'm screaming out percentages. You're like, what the hell is he talking about percentages for? I'm working within a 3-value system at this point, early stages for block in. So maybe like your 20, 30%, 50%, and then maybe 70, 80%. Just trying to get a good 3-value read. You can do a lot with just 3 values. So I'm trying to keep my design simple without getting too much in the weeds yet, gradually working towards some detail. Okay, abs, here we go. Switch tool real quick, something a little bigger. Now the background, that chest plate that he's wearing is darker, but I think it needs a little something more. So maybe we do need to make them a little bit reflective. So I'm going to go with something a little bit darker. By the way, always good. Save. Give myself a little bit of maybe a feeling of a horizon line. Something a little bit. Sort of blocking in the feeling of a little curvature too. Gives it a little bit of dimension too when you curve that horizon line. Kind of distorts the image a little bit in there. And maybe a little bit at the top as well. Hope you guys are doing well out there tonight. If you're just joining, we're working on this Shepard design, which we started a couple episodes back here in stream, and just continuing to work on various pieces. This week we're going to work on a little bit on finalizing the sort of design of this character in terms of a little bit more of a rendering quality to it. Okay. Let's come in here a little bit more. Don't want to get crazy, but I need to put a little something soft on here. I'm going to switch brushes. Kind of put a little softness in here. Just a little softness. Sound effects are always good, welcomed. Okay. Maybe a little smaller one too here at the bottom. This is sort of like the gradients which are conveying transition of value. And it's that transition of value that really enhances the form. So these little softened edges really can convey something, feels a little bit more smooth, gradual, and curved. Just was noticing some little things here and there. Okay. All right. Getting there, getting there. All right, let's work on some values here on maybe this sort of lower abdomen piece here. I'm going to start with the 20, my 20% value. Keep us at full volume though. I'm going to go darker. I'm going to go darker with the knee pads. Okay. So one thing I'm thinking that we need to do is get the cape values in here before too long, because I need to see how it looks with the cape around it. So let's do this. Gonna label this belts. I'm gonna go dark. Oop. Cloak. Now, dark cloak might be pretty visible, so I don't know how dark I really want this to be. This might be something I'm gonna the inside of the cape might be nice to have a two-tone, so I think I'm going to leave the inside definitely lighter. All right, inside of the cloak. I'm going to do this on its own layer just so I can adjust it later. Thanks for joining tonight, or morning, or wherever it is that you are. Been just working on this character design for last couple episodes. We're now getting to some value studies, trying some things. I'm usually out here again Saturday nights, later, bit on the later show, sometimes Sundays. I do have a Discord channel, so if you want notifications or just to find out about announcements, you can click there in my bio about page there and find the link to my Discord channel. I'm looking to sort of extend discussions, maybe anything that we might discuss here over there. Also, if you want to give me any feedback, I'd appreciate any feedback. And you can do that there in the Discord as well. By the way, a little technical specific thing. I am not doing lights and shadows yet. This is just sort of what we would consider the local values, or the values of the objects without light on them, or maybe with a more even light on them, just the color that they naturally are, color and value. But I wanted to work this up a little bit so that I could see what the background and the surrounding cloak is going to have an effect on this. So I'm just working values, lights and darks, and then I'll put a little shadow layer too to help me figure out Okay. How we looking? Turn this guy off for a minute. Not bad. I kind of think maybe it could be even a little darker than this. So I'm going to do kind of a custom value. Now I've been working mostly within 3 values, but I think this cape is going to need its own adjustment here. I kind of like that. Okay, let's go with that. A little bit. Yeah, it's definitely better darker. Okay. Just kind of looking at some of the decisions here. Polish this up a little bit. Oh yes, top of the cape, of course. Okay, now if I see something that I really want to go for, I'm going to do it. I kind of think this crotch protector needs to be a little darker. Maybe not as dark as the belt, but it definitely, I think it needs to go darker. So I'm going to go back to the pads. Now I'm going to start, I can feel that it's time to start polishing, finishing a few edges of things, refining a little bit more, at least enough for this. I mean, you can kind of see where we're at. Probably do his staff too. But we're getting into some nitty-gritty decision-making time now. So I'm going to spend a little more time getting into the deets here. I don't picture this being metal necessarily, so I think for me, don't know if I want that to stand out too much. It's a bit, I don't know. A little bit too dark. Whoa. Darken these little straps in. I need to have a little bit of accent, but I don't want them to blend in and disappear either. So these are the sort of straps that are sort of connecting these pieces of armor together. Again, this armor wasn't designed to be really machine made. This is probably something custom made. I think on my shins, here we go. I'm going to do a little two-tone on these. Just to give these a little bit of subtle value, to make them pop a little bit, almost like a two-tone. Well, not quite an accent, but more like just sweat and wear. They've got a little bit of, I don't know, sweat stains or just giving them a little tone. So it's not just flat value. Makes them a little more interesting. Just dropping in a little bit of a different value. All right. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Do a little something with the staff here too. So we said in the beginning that this wasn't a gun, maybe like a tool he might use with the animals or the livestock that he's working with. You know, maybe kind of jabs them or stuns them, or maybe it has a scope on it so he can chase one down from a long distance. Maybe it sends some sort of like sound or compression thing that sort of keeps, he can guide the animal in. I don't know what the technology is, but I didn't want it to, you know, it's not a gun per se. I don't know the exact functionality of it yet, so I can't 100% say, but all right. I'm going to come in some detail in the handle here. Give maybe a suggestion of the texture of this thing. Black might be a bit heavy, so I'm going to come up a little bit from that. That's looking pretty good. All right. Not bad, not bad. A little bit of cleanup here. Back and forth. Okay. Let's get in on this helmet a little bit. And we don't quite have to do the same detail that we were doing on the big renderer of this. Okay. Quick save would be good. Always good to save. Let's do a little sip of tea. How you guys doing out there? A little quiet tonight. You guys are a little quiet tonight. You having a good one? Well, I hope so. All right. Well, we're getting there. Making some good progress. So I'm going to do a little bit more on this helmet just to get it kind of smoothened out and feeling similar to the large one. Little bits of touch up. Okay. We getting through? Check our health here. Looks pretty good. Okay. I think I'm ready to do a little bit of color now. Okay. So this is all in a group. So I'm going to duplicate this group. There we go. All right. I might do a little bit more with the binoculars, I suppose. I guess I should do that a little bit. All right. So let me pop in here and do this. The binocs. I meant to change this anyway, I guess. Wanted this to be a little bit more curved. And these aren't super techy and detailed here, but don't want these things standing out too much, so I'm going to keep them pretty matte, kind of pushed back. Now that I have the cape, I'm going to add a little bit of the cape shadow out here as well. Okay. Save. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I've got a working value copy. It's not light and shadow, but I do have a chance to just see what we call the flats, or the basic local colors. Now, I don't see this guy being too colorful. Probably neutral browns, earth tones, that kind of thing. He's probably in a pretty rugged terrain, very organic, so probably blends in a lot, but I don't see him being colorful. So from here, we're going to play a little bit with color, just a little bit. So I am going to duplicate this. So let's try some colors. I'm going to try something that I think is probably pretty obvious, but I just want to try it. This might be a little too... The cloak might be the one thing that has some color to it. I don't see much of the material he's wearing having a lot of color, so I think the cloak might be the one thing that he could hold up as a banner or a flag, or just it becomes his marker. So I'm going to go with something bold. I might do a hue adjustment here, but I think for this, get some color going here. I'm not really applying any texture with my brushes at this point. I'm just picking something that will give me a very flat shape, flat color, 100%. Blending mode is multiply. This allows it to kind of work with the values that are underneath. There's a couple of ways to do this, but this is the way I'm going to work with this time. Okay, I think that cloak definitely could be darker. So let's... I'm going to go flat black, but... sort of a darker value of the inside. You know, I could probably do selections here and maybe make this a little bit faster, but there's still something kind of fun about coloring. So, you know, part of why I like to work with my hands and drawing is just for the fact that I get to have repetitive movement. I think that may sound weird, but there is something very therapeutic about drawing because of the repetitive nature of the marks that you're making. The rhythmic kind of qualities of your hand moving is like a metronome almost. I think there's that's part of the reason why people find coloring so satisfying. Just even if it's like you don't have to think, you're just enjoying the movement. Now there's a point where you probably are losing too much time doing it this way, but there's not much here, so. And we're talking such a limited space, so. And this isn't a super tight rendering, so it's not even essential that this has that kind of accuracy. Okay, so let's go on the non-metallic stuff and see if we can give it a little bit of color. So this will be cloak. And I am separating those. So staying in this kind of red family, let's pick something in the maybe browns. All right. This is already a little bit dark, so I'm going to do an adjustment afterwards. Let's go with that. Speaking of which, gonna create a little bit of a key out here. Okay. So this suit underneath. Hmm. Just testing a few colors here. Kind of working on the shins and the arm wrappings. Be somewhat lighter. All right. Give me 1 second. So even though there isn't a lot of color, if it's kind of metallic, it's probably going to reflect the landscape a little bit, but I'm not going to go for anything too shiny. So I really think it just needs a little bit of tone. I'm really kind of just trying things. I would probably come in here in a render and do a little bit more like two-tone on the boots. Make the soles maybe a little bit darker, but I don't want to get into that much detail. All right. So I'm going to put a little warm color over the top of this, but I think I'm going to end up really knocking it back because this is too much. And I don't want to give it the feeling of it's made out of gold. I didn't want, excuse me, I'm sure it's kind of an alloy of some sort, but I didn't want it to be like really hardcore colored, so I'm going to come in a little heavier, but probably dropping it back a little bit. Switch up the blending mode. that might be a little too shiny. That might work. Okay. I'm going to bring the opacity back up while I color so I can see. I'm going to do the head on its own layer in case I want to bump up the saturation on the helmet, because I do kind of figure that the helmet is going to be something with a little bit more polish to it than maybe the rest of the pads. I'm not even sure how much of this color is going to end up coming through, but I feel like I want to be able to control that. So I'm going to put the helmet on its own layer for sure. All right. So here we go. Just going to throw down some color up here. I think if there's too much color coordination, it's going to look too military, too like issued, government issue or organization. And I really did want this guy to be kind of a self-made character, so the coordination of the colors can't be this dialed in. I think it just won't represent the fact that he's kind of an outlier. But you got to start. Just to make some decisions, you got to see it first a little bit. So okay, now I'm going to come back in here and I am going to do a little manipulation of the blending mode, which will affect the way the color looks. Here I'm trying, for instance, a blending mode called color, which only applies the color to where there is gray values. I like multiply because it's a little duller, but then I think I'm going to have to come up in how intense it is. Something like that. That's not bad. Not bad. Okay. Now, the Under Armour that we were working with is probably a very neutral color, but in order to make the colors really pop, by the law of complementary colors pushing on each other, I'm not just going to go with gray. I'm going to go with a cool complementary color to my pads. So if we're going with sort of a gold color, that would be a bit in the red-violet spectrum, maybe blue-violet. So let me try some colors here. Really neutralized, so all right, here we go. Gonna go with multiply, which is gonna be very dark. So I will probably end up either lightening it or going a little bit lighter just to give it a little color. So it looks pretty gray, but it actually has a little bit of color in there. You can see next to it is the actual gray, but this actually has a little color in it. If you want to catch me on Instagram, you can catch me at Trey Gallaher on Instagram, Art by Trey Gallaher on Facebook, all the Trey Gallahers. Actually, I was going to say too, my videos, once they're done here on Twitch, they move over to YouTube. So you catch me at my YouTube channel, Trey Gallaher, no spaces. And I'm also pushing my Discord. So if you're wanting to get notifications on when I'm out here live, I'm pushing notifications over to Discord. And of course, you can give feedback and commentary and all that good stuff on my Discord channel. So I hope I get a chance to hear from you there. But otherwise, I'm normally out here Saturday nights, sometimes Sundays. I welcome comments. If you guys are out there in the chats, feel free to say hi. I love it when people come by and visit. Okay, for the moment, I'm keeping this Under Armour, this undergarb, mostly the same kind of gray, but gray with a slight violet tinge to it to kind of accent, offset the armor. I'm not calling this really a render. This is color design, so we're really just kind of seeing what works. I'll probably take a second pass to really make everything sing and have the kind of rendered quality of a really finish, but this is design talk here, so this is just giving me a general direction to go with. Just to remind you again, if you're joining late, we had the helmet, a little bit of a close-up so you get a chance to see it. Again, this is a chance to experiment with the colors to figure out what works, what doesn't. I don't see this being super colorful. It's mostly kind of reflective of maybe the surrounding environment. So not too shiny, not too colorful, I think. So let's see. Hope you're having a good day or evening where you're at. I recommend you listen to something while I'm working next to you here. We're working together. You work on your stuff, I'll work on mine, spend some time. Chime in a bit if you want to say hi. All right, a little bit more detail. So I think the gloves need a little bit of color in them. All right. So what are we learning here? we are learning that we're staying in the warm spectrum, which I figure goes with the terrain. I feel like this crotch protector and knee pads need some sort of color on them, or at least a darker value. I don't want to accentuate them, but at the same time, I think it'll break up all that gray. I thought lighter might be the way to go, but now I'm looking at it and I think darker might be the way to go. All right, so let's see. Let's see if I can figure out where my I'll come back in on the belts layer. I think we're going to go let's see how this looks. Yeah, that's not bad, I guess. That's not bad. I think the straps may need to go a little darker, though. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting there. We are down to final decisions. Got to go a little bit around the eyes because obviously the skin tones are popping out huge, and I don't want that to overpower what I have. So I'm going to do a little bit of the skin value here. Okay, now I'll do a one layer of skin color. And I don't really know what color I would make the skin, but probably somebody who's a little bit in the sun a lot. So I'm leaving my key here so that if I have to go back and grab that color again, I have it. It also helps me kind of key out my palette for other people to use or future reference. This palette, though, the key I'm keeping down here is actually the key of the actual color I chose, but it's not necessarily the way that it looks. How do I mean by that? Well, the color that I'm painting over the top of the gray value underneath blends together. So the cumulative effect of those layers working together is the color that I want, but that's not necessarily the color I painted with because I'm keeping my colors and my values separate. Now, if you use blending multiply, you need to rekey it again when you're done to get the cumulative effect of the layers. So essentially this is a working key but not the final key. Now if you use blending mode color, then you might be well, same thing ultimately. The effect of the blending mode with the value is the ultimate effect of the two layers working together. That's the color you want to key when you're done. So it's my working key, but it's not the final key. So this thing you're seeing down here, this is mine, not the final one. Okay, I'm going to back off a little bit on the color saturation on the skin, so I like something like that. I think looks pretty good. Okay. All right. do a quick save. I'm going to turn off this helmet because now what I want to do is I want to try a couple things. So I've got all these colors for this version inside. Now I'm going to duplicate this layer, and I am going to move this one, not the duplicate, the original. I'm going to move it over here. All right. So we have our original group, we have our second group. Now we can begin to play around with some various color versions of this. One way to do this that I like to do is duplicate a copy, turn this off. I'm going to flatten everything. Although I'm wondering, you know what, I could probably do it with a layer adjustment. So I could just do some basic variation colors and just move them all sort of relative to what they were from what I originally set. This is not very custom. This is keeping all the same basic value relationships, just moving the colors around to see what they might be. I don't go for green. Yeah, I think the green doesn't work for me. Maybe slightly more red could work. It's not bad. Can't say I like it more. Now again, I'm working for a client or somebody like that, then I might, you know, show them these variations, like which one looks better. That's not bad. Maybe bump up the saturation a little bit more. It's going up 10 here. Just to give it a little bit more. All right, so little comparison here. Able to kind of see, you know, what ranges kind of work. So this is another way to look at this. Turn that one off. So let's try this again. So the first version, let me do a little cleanup here first, because I don't want to scale things too much, but let's see. I'm going to duplicate the first one. That way I can scale it down here. I'll do 3, okay? There we go. Now, version 2, with the layer adjustment. There we go. Let's lock these two together, by the way. Okay. I do feel like that does need to be a little more saturated, so I'm going to come back up here and give it a little more richness to it. Might back off later in the render, but this gives me a little something. Okay. Scale this down. Okay. Let's try one more. Now this one, I'll turn these other two. Let's just do some custom manipulation here on this one. All right, so let's try something just completely different. I kind of liked the blue adjustment we were doing there. So on this one, I'm going to come in here and do some adjustments to these colors. So let's pick something different here. I'm going to go with the helmet color being something a little bit different. Green. I kind of like something about the blue for a second. I kind of what sure environment would get that much blue, but something kind of neat about that. Maybe a little less saturated. Let's go with something like that to start. Now, pads. Let's do an image adjustment on this one as well. This is way saturated, so it's a little green. That's not bad. Let's try that. Decent. Okay. Two-tone. Pads. Shin pads. Do we go with the two-tone accent color? Well, red is bold. This red is definitely bold. So, so let's try changing a little bit. Let's try the cloak color. Do an image adjustment here. Working in Photoshop, by the way. Green, no. Blue, yeah. I don't know. It's like a lot of blue. It's a lot of blue, a lot of green. I don't know if I like all that same monochromatic scale. Let's go back the other way. I'm not hating that. It's a bit of the violet. Well, too violet. Too blue. Makes no sense. And back to that green again, which I'm not digging, but I did like that violet. That's not bad. More colorful? Let's go with that. Okay. Now, shin guards, arm pads. Do we stay with the same thing? What do you guys think? Any thoughts? I'm open. The airwaves are open. We're just playing around, trying some things here. I'm wondering if this body color, which I'm using, I'm wondering if this could move to something warmer. So last time we were messing around with these colors, we were warming things up. Just so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to really enhance the color a little bit. Don't want it to be this saturated, but we have to see the color change. Now the pads being kind of bluish means I'd probably want to offset the color there with something a bit warmer. Not green, maybe more in the red spectrum. Warmish red. Not violet. Okay, now we're getting there. There we go. It's not bad. It's not bad. So in effect, we have something from the almost a triadic relationship here. We got some reds, We got something in the blue and something in the yellow. Everything slightly muted. Split complements. I feel like these shin guards may have to move though. So let's go with this for now. Let's go with this as the body color. And now let me move over to my shin pad color. Let's move these around. Just using a hue saturation kind of adjustment here. Green? Nope. No. Blue, too much blue. Ugh, it's too colorful. There you go. There you go. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Nice part is my key is also moving there, you'll notice. So as I change colors as a hue saturation, everything on that layer is going to move. So if I've keyed it out, I'm going to get the color and the key to change as well. This is not bad. I kind of like this. I do think that the pad's color is maybe too blue, so let's come back a little bit on those. So it's a steely tinge to it, but without being... So it's got a bit of a blue cast to it, but it's not really... This is not bad. I feel like maybe the skin color needs to be a little bit so we can see the skin color a little bit more through this. So let's do an adjustment to the skin. A little bit lighter maybe. Maybe more in the warm. Okay, not bad. We've also got the opacity, I think, on the skin, which we can play with a little bit here. All right, this is not bad. This is not bad. Okay. Going to dupe a version of this. And then I'll scale this down. Actually, let's get the other ones on first. Why am I getting a color switch back there? What is going now? Okay. Layer adjustment. That's specific to that one. There we go. That's what I was looking for. All right, let's scale this down. New version of Photoshop. Still making the shift error. All right. Woo, we're getting up there in hours. So I think it's, we're going to wind this one down. So we get a chance to see all three. Let's move them over a bit. Add one more layer. Always good to label the document. So we'll call this color studies. All right, that's looking pretty good for tonight. I think this has been a good journey. We've been able to do some experimentation, bring a working render to our character, and then able to do a little bit of color play to just begin to see which we like. It's also good to let it sit for a little bit, because good to get some fresh eyes, come back next day or so, take a look, make some decisions about what works, what doesn't, and where you're going to go from here. I think for me, I feel that, being the one that's going to make the decision on this, I'm leaning towards A and B. Oh, by the way, this is something I encourage you to do for sure, which is to label, which one, each one. And it could be simple. We could just call this one uh, gold. And then we could just call this one maybe more, I don't know, copper. Or we could call this one um, steely blue. Or blue. um, just so that we have some sort of name, or you can go with 3A. Why A? Because from here, um, there might be various versions of this as well. So that gives us a sense of like what version. This was 2A, and it gives some sense of hierarchy to the order of things. So I'm gonna we'll go 1, 1, A. All right, so we got 1A, 2A, 3A, with the idea that there could be variations of these, so there's a lineage to it. I personally, being the art director on this one for myself, which is the fun and the joy of doing your own work and directing yourself, is that you make the ultimate decision. It's always good to do the exploration just so that you know that you made the right decision. It's sort of like you have to try the other things to know that the one that you liked originally was where you're going, is the best decision. But exploration is always important. I'm always telling my students this. Try the variations anyway, just to prove to yourself that it is the best solution. So, I'll give this a couple days, take a look at it. Maybe next week we'll take it to some polish and maybe apply some of these colors to the black and white version of the helmet. And then maybe we'll move back over to those animals. His horse, so to speak, the livestock that he's trafficking, both of which are designs we did in episodes 12 and 13, so you can check those out. Maybe we'll try some renders on those. I don't know if I'll do color variations on those. I might just go to town. Not everything requires so much design decision making, but it's good to see it. Sometimes you just know, but sometimes it's good to experiment and see what you can come up with and to challenge yourself. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming by, and I hope I can see you again. Thanks for sharing some time with me. I usually keep the chat open, so I'm out here on Saturdays, Saturday nights usually, sometimes Sunday nights. And if you come by, I'd love to hear from you. I also have my Discord channel, so feel free to check in my About section there, and you can come by my Discord page and feel free to leave some feedback or comments, or maybe we can chat it up. But you can also check me out on Instagram, Trey Gallaher, and of course, Art by Trey Gallaher on Facebook. My YouTube channel is where this will go after it finishes on Twitch. I'll move it over to my YouTube page so you can catch some of my old replays, my older streams, which are being archived there. So, thank you. I hope you have a good creative week on all of your projects. Remember, keep drawing and designing, and following your passion. It takes practice, and the practice is well worth it when it pays off. But I will catch you next time. In the meantime, be good to yourself and be good to other people. and be good to our planet. All right? I'll catch you next time. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you soon.